Welcome everybody to our 100th episode and our special edition, part 1 of Quality Music. It's better than being a dumb one. Two of my favorite YouTubers, Rick Beato and Adam Reeder, the professor of rock, have spent a lot of time on their videos rightfully bemoaning the sorry state of today's popular music. The two of them take totally different approaches. Rick Beato likes to pick pieces apart chord by chord, note by note, instrument by instrument, and analyze them with music theory. But he talks a lot about the problems in today's popular music. Adam Reeder likes to tell stories about and has interviews with artists that were popular mainly in the 70s and 80s. But he too likes to compare the music of yesteryear with the music of today. Adam Reeder and Rick Beato come to the same conclusions all the time about today's popular music. Is it just a matter of their opinion? Or do they have an objective case to use to compare the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and part of the 90s to the music of today? What is it about today's popular music that makes people like Rick Beato and Adam Reeder look at it with such disdain? Is it the overuse of auto-tune? Certainly a case can be made for that. Rick Beato actually had an entire episode in which he talked about how auto-tune ruined popular music.
BTS. Now the production of this stuff is actually incredibly good, but the fact that it's so digital, it is so computer driven, the drum beats, the way the compression is on it, everything about it, the vocal production is so edited.
Is it rap? I mean, I'll admit that in my opinion, the rap genre or hip hop should definitely have the letter C before rap. But I'm not talking about a matter of my opinion or anybody's opinion. Rick Beato has his opinions, so does Adam Reeder, so does a lot of people. If you go on YouTube and look at all of the reactors, the people who spend their time reacting to music videos, what kind of music are they reacting to? Well, it's a bunch of genres. Mostly rock, mostly pop, metal, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Occasionally they'll delve into the 90s or early 2000s, but not very often. Is it a matter of their opinion that they prefer these other types of music? That's part of it, certainly. The fact of the matter is, most people's opinions will certainly diverge towards one genre or another as a matter of their personal preference. I like hard rock, symphonic metal, progressive rock, progressive metal, and classical the best. I don't particularly care for country, but I will declare right here and now that the vast majority of country music is of much higher quality than the vast majority of hip-hop. But even that's just a matter of my personal opinion. And that really doesn't mean much of anything, because what I'm trying to do here, or what I'm trying to say here, is that is there a way to objectively evaluate all these different kinds of music? The point about me not preferring hip-hop or country music versus rock or hard rock or metal is a matter of my opinion. And that doesn't count for anything. Like the old saying goes, opinions are like certain parts of the human body. Everybody's got one. You know my daughter as Luna Rosa, and she's appeared on this channel many, many times. In her opinion, auto-tune is a good thing. It's a really good thing.
For a while, a lesson in auto-tune and how auto-tune is not the devil.
Rip the auto, take note. But again, that's a matter of her opinion. There is no objective case to be made there to say that auto-tune is or is not a good thing. But in the end, what we need is a way of being able to evaluate music on its own merits without the bias of individual opinion. Is there such a way? I believe that there is. And the way to do that is by defining it according to whether or not music is of high or low quality. In other words, what we need is a definition of quality music. So having established that the issue is whether or not music is of high quality or low quality, we need to define exactly what quality music is. That's the point of the whole series. So let's talk about the definition of quality music. Quality music is real music played by real musicians using real musical instruments. Now I could just say period at that point, but we have much more to talk about. It's obviously way more than what this one video can hold, and we have to define exactly what we mean in each case by real music, real musicians, and real musical instruments. To that end, there are a number of corollaries that we have to talk about, such as this. That definition is going to appear in many, many more videos to come, but these corollaries are going to be used to help define each of those parts and expand upon each of the things that I want to talk about regarding quality music. Quality music has some combination of melody, rhythm, and harmony, or in other words, chord structure. Any piece of music that doesn't have at least one of those three components to some degree can't really be called quality music. And of course this plays into the definition of what we mean by real music. Quality music does not age. Now that doesn't mean by itself that we can't identify individual eras of music, or that we can't notice the fact that a certain song or other piece of music was written perhaps a long time ago. I mean that it becomes ageless in the sense that it always sounds fresh. It always is welcome to hear or listen to again, and is not forgotten by time. Quality music can survive different arrangements, in other words, different instruments or vocalists. This sounds a bit like a definition of what a good cover is, and you'd be right, but there is more to it than even that. This plays into the whole bit about real musicians and real musical instruments. Quality music can be performed in front of a live audience. This, of course, also plays into the part of the definition about real musicians and real musical instruments. And lastly, one that is a little bit more controversial. Quality music is genre independent. A lot of what is talked about, a lot of what is going to be talked about in this series, makes it sound as though I am somehow anti-hip-hop or anti-pop music. But as you'll find, nothing is further from the truth. There are plenty of examples of quality music and bad quality, things that don't have quality, in every genre. What is true is that some genres of music do have a tendency to have more quality than others. But that doesn't mean that a piece of music that is, for instance, hip-hop, is automatically going to be lower quality. There are plenty of examples on both sides in all genres. So that definition, again, that quality music is real music, played by real musicians, using real musical instruments, applies in all cases. Every piece of music, regardless of genre, regardless of when it was made, regardless of recording technique, has to conform to that definition in order to be called quality. The sad truth is that there's very little of it in today's music as compared to the music of yesteryear. So let's talk about one of the three parts of that definition in a little bit more detail. We only have a few more minutes, but I think we can spend a little bit of time talking about the easiest part of those three things, those three real things to define. What's a real musical instrument? A guitar. A piano. The instruments of the orchestra. Of course these instruments are real instruments. I don't think you're going to get any argument from anyone about that. What about electrical instruments? Electric guitar. Hammond organ. Am I restricting my discussion of real musical instruments to just those that are acoustic? No, of course not. In fact, I'll go a step further with this. Is this a musical instrument? Yes, a synthesizer is still a musical instrument. What do all of the instruments that I've shown you here so far have in common? You have to play them. It requires a musician to actually do something with the instrument. They have to manipulate the instrument in such a way that it produces the desired beat or melody or chord or whatever sound it's supposed to make. Contrast that with this. A drum machine is not a real musical instrument. And the reason is You don't play it, you program it, and there's a big difference there. Now mind you, the particular model that was shown there was a model that was produced only in the early 80s and used mainly in the 80s and early 90s, and has since fallen out of favor. And part of the reason for that is that it didn't make realistic drum sounds. It made, well, computerized sounding robotic sounds. But that's not the point either. A synthesizer doesn't make realistic sounds all the time either. You just heard the Autobahn by Kraftwerk, played by 4 guys playing synthesizers. Not one of those instruments sounded like a regular acoustic instrument. That's not the point. The point is that with a drum machine, you program it to produce beats that, whether it sounds realistic or not, are quantized. There's no variation in tempo. There's no variation in loudness and softness. There's no dynamics to it whatsoever. Well, you can have fills in there, but the soul is gone. There's no person producing the percussion. The drum machine can serve as a useful tool to fill in when a drummer is absent, when there's no drummer available, but it's not a real drummer. It's not real drums. It is not a real musical instrument. And the problem is, there's way too much of that. Nearly all hip-hop uses a drum machine. Most pop music today uses a drum machine. And unfortunately, an increasing amount of rock and even metal music uses a drum machine. And that lowers the quality of it. And when you lower the quality of it, you don't eliminate all of the quality from it, of course. There are other aspects to quality music than just whether or not the percussion section has quality, but it is a reduction. It is a noticeable, measurable reduction in the quality of the music, and that's part of the reason why an awful lot, unfortunately, of today's popular music is so much worse than the popular music of yesteryear. Over the course of the next several videos, I'm not going to do these consecutively, but over the course of the next several videos, I'm going to be exploring these things about quality music in greater and greater depth. We'll take a deep dive into what I mean by real music, real musicians, and real musical instruments in even more depth than what I was able to do in just the last part of this video. In between, we'll still have some music reactions done by me with my wife, or me with our daughter, or me with other family members in some cases. And I have no idea exactly how long this series is going to go, but I certainly have several already planned out and ready to go here. So, if you liked this, and I hope you do, please click the like button. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to this channel. We do invite all your comments, whether they're positive or negative, so please add your comments below. Share this with your friends on social media. Share this with Rick Beato. Share this with Adam Reeder. Most of all, don't be a donkey of limited intelligence. Instead, be an intelligent donkey. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.